We're also fighting the menace of inflation to make life more affordable for American seniors, and we've ended Biden's inflation nightmare. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now our inflation is down to a perfect number, a beautiful number, hardly any at all.
Year over year, it is up 3.3% versus an estimate of up 2.5%. Now, when you look at core, it's also troubling.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
I mean, when once near and dear Fox Business host Maria Bartiromo is looking this bleak, reporting on your inflation numbers, you know it's pretty bad.
They're just acting like Democrats.
And you say Donald Trump tells it like it is. Literally today, he said inflation cooling right where we want it, and we got the U.S. wholesale inflation number, which is the highest that it's been in 3 years.
Trump ended what was just a terrible week for his presidency with more lies and disinformation regarding the state of affairs in the country, to the point that he is just a living embodiment of this meme, notably touting almost nothing level inflation. But it appears that the propaganda he hoped would be swallowed with a side of snake oil chaser wasn't to be the case, not even on his once prized Fox News.
I'm glad I look at the 401ks and I see how much they've gone up. And I'm glad I look at inflation, see how much it's gone down. I'm glad interest rates are going to come down. I mean, we're getting our country back. We were in a dark spot. You know this better than anybody. You cover the markets every single day. And
well, let me just be clear. Under Biden in the last year, the S&P had 56 record highs. But that said,
That's right, Fox Business host Maria Bartiromo was live on air when the Producer Price Index report for July was released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, revealing that prices for wholesalers rose last month at the fastest pace in 3 years. Bartiromo, who is usually an expert in finding ways to spin bad news in Trump's favor, bluntly described the reported inflation as a spike that is troubling. A sharp contrast to how the president has described it.
Breaking news right now, and a spike in the producer price level of inflation. Take a look. Markets are selling off here because the July PPI came in up 0.9%. Worse than the estimated up 0.2%. This is the headline number. It was expected up 0.2, came up 0.9%. Year over year, it is up 3.3% versus an estimate of up 2.5%. Now, when you look at core, it's also troubling because in the core PPI, it was up 0.9% versus an estimate of 0.2%. Year over year, the core up 3.7%, also higher than the estimated expectation, which was up 2.9%. These numbers have caused markets to drop. The Dow Industrial is down 105, the Nasdaq down 71, and the S&P 500 lower by 19. We want to take a look at producer prices with the Transportation Secretary. Sean Duffy will be here to talk about other things like the modernization of the FAA, as well as the investment in space. But we're going to start off with getting his expectation and reaction to a spike in producer prices. We'll be right back.
And she's not alone in her bleakness, right? Economic experts largely agree that last week's report is trouble for the White House.
Headline number is whoppingly big. Oh my goodness. Up 0.9%. Up 0.9. And if you strip out food and energy, guess what? It's still up 0.9. Boy, that equals June of 22. You're to March of 22 on the headline to find a bigger number. On the core number, that would comp to March of 22, since we've had a number of that magnitude when it was 1.2%. These are kind of COVID distorted numbers. Now, let's look at ex-food, energy, and trade. Triple the expectations. All three of those were expected to be up 0.2. This is up 0.6. 0.6 would be the highest level since March of 22 when it was 0.9. Now, let's go year over year. These are warm too. 3.7, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Final demand year over year is 3.3. We're expecting 2.5. Now 3.3, that would be the highest since February. The high water mark was January this year at 3.8. Now 2.8 is ex food, energy, and trade. That is definitely higher than 2.5 expected. 2.8 will be the highest since March. And right in the middle there, we have X just food and energy. That number coming in at 3.7. I kept it for last because that really is a very, very large number. 3.7, that would be the largest since March when it was 3.9. So we see every single metric is warmer than expected. Every single metric is significantly higher sequentially.
The PPI index rose 0.9% in July alone, more than 4 times what was expected. For the past year, the index has rose 3.3%, the largest annual increase since February. And as is usually the case regarding these numbers, right, they are a direct indictment of Trump's tariffs.
There's no tax cuts. No tariffs, no tax cuts. So are tariffs price hikes or tax cuts? I say they're tax cuts.
I mean, many economists would say that they're tax hikes because ultimately a consumer will pay for some of those increased prices.
Look, that debate has been going on since the first term, and most economists just don't agree with us. The problem with most economists is they got it wrong the first time around, just spectacularly wrong. So who has credibility here? The Trump administration? Or the
it's been better than thought. I give you plenty of credit every day here. Every day I say that the inflation is not as bad.
The Wall Street Journal blamed me for, they had lead editorial saying the Navarro recession because of the tariffs in the first term, and all we got was robust growth and no inflation. So, and I love watching CNBC, like when the data comes out, you got the Leisman-Santelli show. It's like, it's like the Thriller in Manila, I always think Rick kicks his butt, but, Steve has his fans too. But this is why you guys are able to have a lot of viewers.
There's
just a lot going on to parse. I'm hoping that I've helped you today because folks, pay attention to this executive order and figure out how to make money from it, because you will do that.
You see, no amount of spinning from Trump or his chief propagandist Caroline Leavitt can muddy the numbers on that. Not even putting a radio show economic host in as Bureau of Labor Statistics will do it. But that won't stop them trying. And it's only a matter of time before the cost increases that have impacted manufacturers will be passed on to consumers. Not even Trump's Secretary Treasury, Scott Bessent, can talk his way out of agreeing to that point.
There has been some confusion. So we've got a tariff of, 50% on Brazil now, I think. And so if someone here, an importer, wants to buy Brazilian products today or tomorrow and import them, they're going to pay 50% to the Treasury. And so who writes that check?
Well, a couple of things. First, we could have substitutions, so there's very little that only comes from Brazil. It could come from Argentina, it could come from...
right, but assuming it does come from Brazil, say, or it comes from any country with a tariff, who writes the check to the Treasury?
Well, the check is written to the person who receives it at the dock in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. The check is written by the person who receives it at the dock. So the tariff is paid in this country by the importer, is that right?
But the Brazilian exporter could decide that they want to keep market share. They could lower their price so that the full 50% of the tariff, say,
they can eat part of the cost. They can eat part of the tariff,
which is what we've seen.
Okay. But the check is written by the importer, right, at the dock.
Yeah, and then the importer can pass it on or not.
And others are in agreement. Christopher Rupke, the chief economist at FWD Bonds, a financial markets research firm, wrote this week that importers will eventually pass on costs to consumers. It's inevitable, and this is what I've been saying, right? Trump can distract and deflect all he wants, but when people start feeling in their wallet the direct repercussions of his actions, there is no swimming back up to the surface. Not that he's above the surface level on any issue as it is, but you get the point.
They're just acting like Democrats.
And you say Donald Trump tells it like it is. Literally today, he said inflation cooling right where we want it. And we got the U.S. wholesale inflation number, which is the highest that it's been in 3 years. Fresh and dry veggies up 39%, beef up 80%, toys, appliances, shoes, things that we all need. 44% of people are saying now that they are going to have to go into debt to get their kids back to school.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.